Okay, welcome to one more episode of Cloud Careers, and this video is basically a continuation of the series that we are doing sobre our cloud infrastructure certifications. If you haven't seen yet, we have done one video covering all the certifications, basically an overview. We're going to link here for you if you want to see it. And today we're going to cover the Auto Cloud Infrastructure Architect Associate certification, and that's a pretty amazing certification. I love that one. The last one that I took. And in addition to that, if you haven't watched the previous video that we recorded about the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Foundations Associate, so we're going to leave the link for you in here as well. Somewhere in here. You can go there and watch in case you are interested in taking it as well. And before moving to the content, if you don't know yet, and if you are watching this video before May 15, it is very important that you know that Oracle is giving the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure certification for free. Oracle is giving a voucher so that you can take the certification for free. So you don't want to take this chance, and then you don't want to miss that, I'm sure. And if you are interested to learn more about how you can do it and the steps and what's gonna be covered in the exam or which topics you need to know, please continue watching this video. Okay, cool. Before we jump into the content, I would like to ask you, please go ahead and smash the subscribe button, enable the notifications so that you can be notified whenever we have new videos. And of course, please come in here and follow us on Instagram. It is thecloudbootcamp.english. It's going to be a pleasure to have all of you over there. All right, so let's jump into the content now. And then, as I said, today we're going to cover the Auto Cloud Infrastructure Architect Associate certification, and that is the first level of the architect certifications for OCI. So basically, we have the associate level and the professional level. So basically, this certification is intended for the IT professionals which are aspiring, becoming a Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Architect in their careers. So that's going to be the first level of it, right? So, of course, you're going to have the professional level, which is the harder one, and the associate level, the architect associate level, is actually a prerequisite for you to take the professional level. All right, but before I give you more information on the exam itself, I would like to tell you what is a cloud architect, in case you don't know yet, and what a cloud architect does, right? So basically, I separated 5 topics to give you an overview on the major cloud architect roles. And the first one is, of course, the cloud architect is responsible to architect cloud solutions for customers, companies, or basically whoever is willing to take workloads to the cloud. The cloud architect is the perfect person that will be giving the technical advisory and making sure that people understand how the cloud works and use the proper services to take whatever services already running on premises to the cloud, or even create brand new services in the cloud. So that's the first responsibility, right? He is responsible to basically craft new solutions in the cloud. And the second thing is a cloud architect has a strong foundation on cloud computing concepts. Usually a cloud architect needs to have a very good grasp of the cloud computing concepts, and they need to understand the building blocks so that they can recommend solutions for companies and to act, of course, as a technical advisor for decision makers like CIOs, CTOs, IT managers, and so on and so forth. Right? So that's the second thing. And the third thing that a cloud architect needs to do is, of course, the cloud architect needs to know very well all the technical components of the cloud provider that he wants to work with. For example, here we are talking about Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, right? So let's say that the Oracle Cloud architect, in that case, will need to know how the OCI components would work. They should know the building blocks. They should know how the architecture works in terms of building blocks, in terms of best practices and this kind of stuff. So they also need to know the core components of OCI or the core services. They should know all of this stuff, right? That is the third thing. And the fourth thing is, of course, the cloud architect needs to be able to build highly resilient architectures in the cloud. And what do I mean by a highly resilient architecture, right? So basically a highly resilient architecture means that the architecture that is capable to be completely fault tolerant, means that we should not have single point of failures in the architecture that can cause outages to the business, to the applications, and those kind of stuff. So the architecture needs to be created using all the high availability best practices to make sure that the services that are running on top of the cloud will not be impacted in case of failures or service interruptions, right? So we should have best practices in place so that those architectures can be completely fault tolerant. And the point number 5 that I would like to touch base in here, I think it is one of the most important, right? For the cloud architect should be able to translate a on-premises infrastructure to a typical cloud-based infrastructure. What do I mean by that? So if you think about that, right? If you are working as a cloud architect, you should be able to look at the existing on-premises environment in a local data center and be able to map that existing infrastructure to a cloud-based infrastructure. You should be able to understand how you can leverage the cloud services to take whatever you have on premises to the cloud, right? Not only that, but if you want to spin up new services or new workloads in the cloud and you're using it today in the on-premises environment, you need to be able to understand what is the similar architecture or even the best architecture that you can have in the cloud if you compare the same architecture in an on-premises environment. So there is a very important skill set that a cloud architect needs to have. Now that you know what a cloud architect does, I would like to touch base on a few points regarding to the certification itself. All right. So the first thing is, of course, the name I just mentioned, Auto Cloud Infrastructure Associate Architect, and we have the 2018 and 2019 version. The current one is the 2019, and the 2020 is almost there, is almost getting released. But at the time that this video was recorded, the current one is the 2019. So you should focus on that if you want to take the certification. And the duration of the exam is usually 105 minutes. You need to make sure and plan for sitting for the exam for 105 minutes. And the passing score for this exam is 65%. So you should be able to make these questions and make these scores that you can get approved. So now I would like to review with you the exam topics so that you know which topics you need to get ready or study so that you can be ready to take the exam, to take the certification. And I have that in here so that I don't miss anything. And the first thing is, of course, you need to know the IAM service very well. And what is a IAM service in OCI? So basically the IAM service allows people to use the OCI and controls how people use the OCI, right? So using the IAM service, you can create users and assign policies to users so that those users can be granted to do some of the tasks in OCI. You can give full privileges, or you can limit the privileges to the extent that you need, right? So that's basically the IAM service. So you need to get a good grasp of that as well for the certification. And the second thing that you should be able to know for the certification is, of course, you need to be able to explain the networking service of OCI, right? Inside of OCI, we have a component which is called the VCN, Virtual Cloud Network. And basically it is like the name says, right? It is a virtual network inside of the cloud that you can use to plug your resources, that could be VMs or bare metal hosts, whatever it is, to the network so that you can control how those resources talk to one another, right? So basically it is very similar to a on-premises infrastructure, which you can control using fire rules, but in the cloud you have a more virtual way of doing it. And of course you don't manage any hardware, right? So that's for the networking. In addition to the networking, of course, you should be able to explain or understand how the compute service works in OCI. You should be able to understand the differences between a VM, a bare metal. You should know what is a shape and when you should use different shapes for which purposes. That is on compute. In addition to compute, you should also be able to explain the storage services of OCI. So basically we have three major ones: block storage, file storage service, and object storage. You should be able to understand each each one of that, and make sure that you know when you should use each one of those so that you can propose the best service for every single use case that you have when you work as an architect. And of course, you should be able to discuss and have a good knowledge of the best practices, architectural best practices. So it should be able to explain the OCI best practices, how you can design architectures for high availability using the concepts like regions, availability domains, fault domains. So those are very important concepts that you should also know for the certification. And of course, we cannot talk about Auto Cloud infrastructure without talking about databases, right? You should be able to understand which are the main offers or services of OCI in terms of databases. We basically have the Exadata Cloud Service, we have the Bare Metal host, the VM hosts, and of course we have the autonomous database, which are pretty popular now. So you should be able to define when you should, pick one versus another. So that's very important for you as well as an architect. And last but not least, you should also be able to do some hands-on using your Auto Cloud infrastructure account. If you don't know, OCI has a always free account. You can create one account and basically go there and put in practice whatever you learn. So you can go ahead and spin up VMs, create block storage, and create object storage buckets that you can make sure that not only the theoretical aspect of the OCI but you also have hands-on exposure that's gonna make all the difference when you take the exam. All right, so those are the main topics that you're going to see in the exam. And also, I would like to tell you the benefits of having the certification. And the first one is, of course, you're going to stand out in your professional network. You're going to, attract a lot of attention from recruiters or, hiring managers that are looking for people with those skill sets. When you put a certification on your resume, you are going to have a lot of visibility on that. And the second benefit that I see is, of course, you're going to have a digital badge where you can showcase in your LinkedIn profile. You can also put in your resume, and that's gonna give you like a credential that you can share with the world, showing that you did a great job taking the certification. And the last one is, of course, you have the ability of validating your skill set, so that will bring you, a comfort level and will, make sure that you have the basic knowledge and the foundational knowledge to get started and working as a cloud architect. All right, so I hope that clarifies how you can prepare for the Auto Cloud Infrastructure Architect Associate, and I hope you have enjoyed this video. So if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give me your thumbs up and leave here in the comments if you're planning to take the certification, or if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer you. All right, thank you very much for watching this video, and I see you in the next one. Bye.